February.
Okay.
And that's when it starts. Bringing the team together. We've it was funny. We had a couple conversations this year from the different team members, where they come from and how they got on the team. And do you have a list of them with you, Tom? Everybody that pitches in and helps make this thing happen.
That's another thing. You guys come in and you talk about it because you're both, I guess, in charge of it. There's dozens and dozens and dozens of people that get involved in this and have to be involved in this on a yearly basis to get everything ready. What is it, crew or staff? These are volunteers too.
Yeah, it's a committee. We're all volunteers. Steve and I are the co-chairman, but none of this would happen without all of these committee members. Starting in February, everybody has chores assigned. I would call Steve and myself too, where we have things that we have to do to start preparing. So I'd like to go ahead and read through the committee names, if I could, to recognize them, please.
Absolutely, because these are the people that make this happen every year. They deserve the credit for it.
They absolutely are. So Doug Beck, Paula Dorish, the city secretary, Sam Florida, Les Heyman, Ben Hoffman, Jeff Huff, Ron Ippolito, Gary Kleemook, my wife Judith Kroll, Justin Levang.
Dude, back up. How do you put your wife 5th or 6th on the list? Come on, you're brighter than that.
It's alphabetical.
Oh, okay. There's your excuse.
That's my out, Eddie.
Right.
I know she's listening. So
okay. I'm just trying to help a brother out.
I
was like,
appreciate
dude, you
it.
mentioned your wife 5th. Come on. All right.
So, yeah, Justin Levang, Bob Mamura, Frank Martocci, Brian McNeely, Michelle McNeely, Steve, of course, myself, Mark Peterson from here at Beaver County Radio,
yep.
Monica Sepp, Bill Sepp, and Frank Sparks from here at Beaver County Radio.
I know Frank is into it big time because he's a car guy. Is everybody on that list a car guy, or do you get people that are more community oriented and because this is a community event? Where did all those people come from that want to help you, Steve?
Most are both. Okay.
Okay.
Car people and people, Beaver County people and Beaver Falls people that care about the city. It seems like the two big motivators is the car end of it and the city of Beaver Falls end of it. And that's another thing we'd like to talk about real quick is the way the city of Beaver Falls hosts this thing and all the officials in Beaver Falls. I'd like to send a little shout out to them. I had the pleasure of meeting with our new mayor, Kenya Johns.
Yeah.
Real pleasant lady. It was a real enjoyable meeting. We sat down with the rest of the city leaders, the chief of police, Dave Johnson. They do a great job. They participate every year, is up and down the street. Just having that presence of a few uniformed officers seems to keep the peace pretty well and takes care of any issues we have because we have a lot of people in town that day. So
I remember last year it was and this was the first year back after COVID, so everybody was just going stir crazy with cabin fever.
Yeah.
I was here from almost sun up till almost dark. Short of the fist fight that Tom and I almost got into, I don't remember any hassles at all.
No.
Everybody seems to even the people just showing up to be a part of it, they put their best foot forward.
Probably 12 to 15,000 people walking up and down the main street of Beaver Falls, shoulder to shoulder, a real crowd. And we've had real good luck over the years. No major problems, couple minor issues. This is our 31st year. 31 years of car cruises in Beaver Falls.
How long have you been involved in it, Steve?
We've both been involved 6 years, I think it is. Isn't it, Tom?
7 years. This is our 6th event because there was
Sixth
that
event,
one we didn't do with
COVID.
Yeah,
COVID,
2020. Right. We missed 2020. So I'd like to shout out to Fire Chief Mark Stowe. He keeps a good eye on things. The street department, okay, our street superintendent is Pat Burdine.
Mm-hmm.
These guys help us get set up. They lend us barricades. They borrowed extra barricades from the county this year. The garbage, we pick up all the garbage all day long. But you got to imagine, think about having a little event at your house of 10 to 20 people. When it's over, there's quite a bit of cleaning up to do.
Oh, most of my friends are pigs. Sure. Yeah. They like run a hose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The end of the day, you got to imagine 12,000 to 15,000 people can make a little bit of trash. When it's over, we pick up the garbage bags. That team comes in from the street department. Within 2 to 3 hours, you can't hardly tell that anything happened in town that day. It is spick and span. They just do a tremendous job. The city manager, Charles Jones, is always there for us. The city clerk, Paula Durish, she is a member of our team, as Tom mentioned. She's like the go-to girl. You know, when you need something.
She's the fixer.
She's it.
Yeah.
She's it. Yeah. Yeah. So
Everything.
we're very thankful for the city of Beaver Falls for hosting the event, and we think it's a great two-way relationship.
Well, that shows it's embedded in the community, that everybody in the community comes together, including the people that politically run the community. Is that an easy sell when people come in? You mentioned you met the new mayor. She's never been the mayor before. This is something in the town. How was that received?
We had a meeting concerning the crews and the streets that were going to close, and so all the people I just mentioned was around the table. It was the first time I ever met her. Didn't know her at all. I'd have to say she was very, very pleasant.
Mm-hmm.
Enjoyed spending time with her. It just seemed like a real nice lady to me, is all I can tell you about her.
You left thinking, okay, we're going to be fine with this, because when there are new people in charge, especially, there's so many different aspects, so many tentacles to pull off an event this size. You worry about a fly in the ointment. That didn't happen. You're both 7 years into it. Tom, how many more years you see? You've done it long enough now. You would be you're vested in the union, I think.
Yeah.
How many years could you do this? It's been going 31. Could you add another 20?
Well, I think the cruise itself, given the support from, like Steve said, the city, the entire Beaver County community, and our committee, I really believe this cruise could go on indefinitely. As far as myself goes, Steve and I, every year, by the time the cruise is over, we're pretty beat. We look at each other and say, let's wait a month.
Sunburnt.
Yeah, let's wait a month. But it's become part of our thread, really, for Steve and I, So I see it going on indefinitely, really.
And with you guys, you two continuing to do it? Because, like you said, let's wait a month and come back. It hadn't gotten exhausting at any point. You still get, this time of year, do you still get as excited as you did the first year you did it?
Well, the first year, I'd say excitement is a subjective word, right? Because the first year, I'm not sure excitement is the word I would use. It was more apprehension, anxiety. We had a group of people that had never put it on before.
Yeah.
Luckily, the group that put it on for the first 25 years, Happy Days Car Club, gave us some guidance. We feel pretty comfortable in executing this event every year. I don't know. I really can't say. I don't see, an end in sight for us for right now. Okay. But we really never talk about that. We always have a follow-up meeting after every cruise, a month or so later, let everybody get settled back down again, and we have a meeting with the entire committee and ask for ways that we can get better. One of the things that's what we want to do is we want to provide a better experience for the cruisers, for the community that comes. We try to get better every year.
How do you get better? Because I was at the one last year. I didn't see, if I went looking for fault, I couldn't have found fault. How do you improve? What information comes back a month later that says, okay, this was this way, and there's so many moving parts. How do you improve one piece at a time, year by year?
I don't want to jump ahead, Tom, but the one thing last year was that opening ceremony, with our timing and everything. Maybe you'd talk about that a little bit. Every year we just try and spice it up a little bit, bring a little bit more to it, something a little bit noteworthy that the cruisers might talk about at other cruises. Boy, you should have seen the thing in Beaver Falls. We want them leaving the thing with a little different flavor than any other cruises out there. Now, naturally, last year it was on 9/11.
Mm-hmm.
Right,
yeah.
And to give credit, my wife did organize the parade for that day. That was a big logistical issue for her.
I tried to organize one parade one time. God love her. It's like herding cats, but in this case, it's herding cats in really cool vehicles.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it went off really flawlessly. We did add last year that C-47 World War II airplane from Air Heritage up in Chippewa that did a flyover. It will do a flyover again this year. And the other thing that we typically look for improvements on are logistics, I would say. Logistics about how to keep the cars coming in flowing, how to create enough parking spaces for everybody that's coming. Our improvements often are to try to make it a better and better experience every year for the people that come.
We happen to know some of the other cruises close by, what their counts are and how many cars show up for their car cruises, some of our what we would call competitors.
Right.
We also happen to know that last year we had a little over double the number of cruisers in Beaver Falls, and a lot of it has to do with our main street in Beaver Falls. You know, we've got 20 blocks here of 4-lane highway. We can park cars diagonally on one side, diagonally on the other side, still have room for people to walk up and down the street, room for cars to drive back and forth. We've counted, there's about 1,100 parking spaces. So at any one time, we'll have 1,100 cars, cruisers, collectible, classic cars parked, and with more and more just driving up and down the street waiting for a parking spot. We have people that show up the night before. We have people that show up at 6 o'clock in the morning.
I remember last year, yeah.
People that still show up at 5 o'clock in the afternoon. I mean, there's just people coming and going. We actually bought more dash plaques. As they enter the car cruise, we give them a dash plaque. The cruisers like having these little pieces of memorabilia.
Sure.
Oh, yeah, we went to this cruise and we went to that cruise. Then I think we gave out 1,500 of them last year.
Really?
And we upped the count. How many did we order this year, Tom?
2,000.
So we ordered 2,000 this year because we ran out at about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So we're gonna see if we can break the record this year.
How mad was the dude that was in line and was supposed to get number 1501?
Got to come back again next year. What can I tell you? So,
Tom Gargaro.
see you next year.
Tom Gargaro is my guest. Steve Peterson is my guest. We're talking about the Beaver Falls car cruise. It is a massive event. How important is it to have good word about it with the cruisers? Because that's a tight-knit group. Word gets around.
Well, you know, that word of mouth is either your best or your worst advertising.
Right.
And we have a pretty good reputation in the car cruise community. That Beaver Falls car cruise, one of the earlier car cruises of the year, you know, second weekend in June, so it kind of kicks off the season. Last year on September 11th, we wrapped up the season.
Right.
But it's got a real good reputation in the city of Beaver Falls is welcoming. It's well organized. It's put on by a good team. The word of mouth on our cruises, boy, don't miss Beaver Falls. Beaver Falls is the one to be at.
How much, Tom, you mentioned logistics. How often do you guys sit down and go, okay, our car cruise, if we put it here, it's going to compete with this? Because every community has something like this during the summer. Is that something you all work together and say, our weekend is this, if your weekend's that? You lay that out ahead of time to try and avoid competition?
Other than last year, and we delayed last year because of the uncertainty about COVID, if we would have had it in June. So we did have it on September 11th last year. Historically, though, the Beaver Falls Car Cruise is the second Saturday in June. And this goes back decades, I'm sure. So I think what actually happens is the surrounding area sets their cruises by looking at when ours is so that they're not conflicting with ours.
Works to your clock. They already recognize that's a big one. We don't need to try and butt heads with that.
I believe so. I mean, the immediate closest ones, you know, Beaver's always in August. New Brighton, I think last year was in August. It's going to be in September this year. So those closest to us certainly pay attention to the timing of the different events.
It's Teleforum. My name is Eddie Crow. My guests are Steve Peterson and Tom Gargaro with the Beaver Falls Car Cruise. This is being live Facebook streamed, and it is on Instagram, and it will continue after news on 1230 WBBP. Where's that sheet you gave me, Tom? Tom knows the call letters.
Right there, Eddie.
All
You
right.
can say them if you want.
You want to say them?
Yeah, I can
Yeah.
say them.
Here's what you do. Say that and say, and news is next. And whip out the Cronkite voice, dude. You got the pipes. Go ahead.
So here on 95.7, 99.3 FM, 1230 WBVP, 1460 WMBA, presented by St. Barnabas and Beaver County Radio, and the news is next.
Very professional.
Your community, your radio stations, originating from the St. Barnabas Control Studio in Beaver County. 1230 WBVP Beaver Falls and 1460 WMBA Ambridge. The following announcement has been authorized by the St. Barnabas Voting Action Committee and is not authorized by any candidate. The future depends on you making the right decisions in this year's Best of the Valley election. Please visit timesonline.com/contests and vote for these endorsed candidates.
For Best Dental Clinic and Dentist, select Dr. Henry J. Windle. For Best Grocery Store, vote for Tusca Plaza Shop and Save.
For top employer over 500 employees, choose St. Barnabas Retirement Living.
For the Best Employee Recognition Program, pick Beaver Meadows.
Visit timesonline.com/contest today and choose these candidates as the best of the Valley.
This is William Day, President and CEO of St. Barnabas. Our primary goal is to serve you, and I approved this message.
People have always said more business gets done on the golf course than in the conference room, and it's true. Promote your business and network at the annual Beaver County Chamber of Commerce Golf Outing. It's Friday, June 17th at Beaver Valley Golf Club. Individual golfers, foursomes, and sponsorships are available. The outing is sponsored by West Banco. Visit beavercountychamber.com or call 724-775-3944. Business at work, partners in progress, and making it happen on the golf course. It's the Beaver County Chamber of Commerce.
The best of Beaver County is easy to discover. It's right here on your radio. Tune in Beaver County Radio or watch the best of Beaver County live on Facebook or YouTube video this and every Thursday from 11 to 11:30. The program is made possible by St. Barnabas. For over 3 years now, the show has been dedicated to shining light on the great things going on right here in your neighborhood and the people that are making it happen. This Thursday, enjoy conversation and insight from an intriguing lineup of guests who are creating excitement and having an impact right here in Beaver County. Your friends and neighbors at St. Barnabas are pleased to support the best of Beaver County. The radio broadcast will also be replayed each week from 11:30 to noon on Sundays on Beaver County Radio. Archived Best of Beaver County videos can be viewed on the WBVP WMBA Facebook page. It's your chance to encounter the best of Beaver County with host Mike Romai this Thursday starting at 11. For more information, visit beavercountyradio.com. 95.7 and 99.3 FM, along with WBVP, WMBA, and BeaverCountyRadio.com, invite you to tune in to Sounds of Faith. Tune in Sunday mornings from 7 until 9 for a mix of the best sacred music of all time. Sounds of Faith is brought to you by Crawford Tire and Beaver, the William Murphy Funeral Home, City Rescue Mission, MRS Physical Therapy, Circle of Friends, J&J Spratt Funeral Home, and Rome Monument and Inspirational Gifts. Sounds of Faith, uplifting, relaxing, and inspiring radio. Sunday mornings from 7 until 9 on 95.7 and 99.3 FM, along with WBVP, WMBA, and BeaverCountyRadio.com. Tune in every Friday at 12:30 for another insightful edition of Living Well, a special segment on Beaver County Radio designed to help you enjoy the best, most fulfilling, and healthiest life possible. Hosted by Dr. Joseph Maroon and Jeff Boast, and presented by St. Barnabas. Living Well, Fridays at 12:30, right here on Beaver County Radio, WBVP Beaver Falls, WMBA Ambridge, along with 99.3 FM and 95.7 FM. Beaver County Radio's news source, 1230 WBVP, 1460 WMBA, 99.3 FM, and streaming at beavercountyradio.com.
Good morning, this is Curtis Walsh, sitting in for Frank Sparks. Today's forecast is calling for a mix of clouds and sun this morning with a high of 69 degrees. We'll take a complete look at the Beaver County forecast after this look at news. The Veterans Memorial located at Clark Park in Beaver was vandalized sometime Sunday. Beaver police are investigating and there is a $500 reward for information leading to an arrest. The memorial honors those that served in the Revolutionary War, War of 1812, and the Civil War. A Beaver County law enforcement officer's memorial service was held last Friday in Beaver. Here's Beaver County Radio News correspondent Sandy Giordano with more.
Last Friday morning, the Beaver County Law Enforcement Officers Memorial Service was held at the memorial in Beaver despite the rain. The memorial was dedicated May 10, 2003. Beaver County Commissioners Chairman Daniel Steenkamp III issued a proclamation. Taps was played by Henry and David Buffolini, Hopewell residents. Master of Ceremonies was Center Township Police Chief Barry Kramer. Invocation and memorial prayer and benediction were delivered by the police chaplain, Reverend Stephen McCown. The law enforcement prayer was delivered by Monaca Police Chief Dave Pewry, FOP Lodge 84. The salute to our fallen brothers was Aliquippa Police Detective Sergeant Steve Roberts, president of the James Naeem Memorial Lodge, FOP Lodge 26. The event is held annually and is a collaborative effort by the District Attorney's Office, Sheriff's Department, and Beaver Valley Police Chiefs of Police Association. This is Sandy Giordano reporting for Beaver County Radio.
An autopsy report shows that Pittsburgh Steelers quarterback Dwayne Haskins was legally drunk when he was fatally struck by a dump truck on a Florida highway last month. The Broward County Medical Examiner said in its report released Monday that Haskins' blood alcohol content was more than twice the legal level for driving when he was struck April 9th. Ketamine and its metabolite, norketamine, was also found in his system. The 24-year-old former Ohio State star had run out of gas on Interstate 595 near Fort Lauderdale at around dawn. He told a companion he was going to find a gas station. The dump truck driver told investigators Haskins stepped in front of him as he traveled in the center lane. David McCormick's campaign is suing in a Pennsylvania court over his neck-and-neck Republican primary contest for the U.S. Senate against Dr. Mehmet Oz. McCormick is trying to ensure counties obey a brand-new federal appeals court decision. His lawsuit, filed late Monday, asks the state's Commonwealth Court to require counties to promptly count mail-in ballots that lack a handwritten date on the return envelope. Oz, who was endorsed by former President Donald Trump, led McCormick by 992 votes, or 0.07 percentage points, out of more than 1.3 million ballots reported to the state as of Monday night. The race is close enough to trigger Pennsylvania's automatic recounts law. Attorney General Josh Shapiro today released a special report warning policymakers and the public of the shift from heroin to fentanyl, a synthetic drug that is significantly more potent than heroin, which is now the dominant opioid in Pennsylvania. The report highlights the stark uptick in seizures compared to heroin in recent years. According to the report, in 2021, Office of Attorney General Bureau of Narcotics Investigation regions seized more than double the amount of fentanyl than heroin. In the first 3 months of 2022, BNI seized approximately 40 times the amount of fentanyl compared to heroin, and more fentanyl was seized in all of the previous year. The report calls on policymakers to focus on making substance use disorder treatment available for those suffering from addiction, and to look at the relative costs and benefits of legalizing fentanyl test strips and other methods of testing drugs to know what is actually in these complex compounds and reduce overdose deaths.
Here's the Beaver County forecast on 95.7 and 99.3 FM, along with 1230 WBVP, 1460 WMBA, and streaming at beavercountyradio.com.
A mix of clouds and sun this morning with cloudy skies this afternoon. We'll have a high of 69 and a low of 53. Tomorrow, partly cloudy with a high of 75 and a low of 59. Thursday, afternoon thunderstorms and showers overnight with a high of 82. Friday, thunderstorms likely with a high of 71. And on Saturday, scattered thunderstorms with a high of 70. Currently, here in Beaver Falls, it is 60 degrees. That's a look at the news for now. I'm Curtis Walsh for 1230 WBVP, 1460 WMBA, 95.7 FM, 99.3 FM, all presented by St. Barnabas, and streaming live around the world at beavercountyradio.com.
It's the sound of Beaver County, presented by St. Barnabas, WBVP, WMBA, 99.3 FM, and now available on 95.7 FM.
It is Teleforum, and thank God. I was just saying off the air while we were sitting listening to Curtis do the news, I was just saying off the air to Tom and to Steve, thank you both for being here, because now I don't have to talk about politics for like an hour. And it's wonderful and it's uplifting, and we're talking about the Beaver Falls car cruise. Whose car's on the T-shirt? Because I remember, doesn't somebody in the car cruise committee, isn't their car featured? It looks like a Nova.
Is it a Nova or a Chevelle?
Yeah, I think it's a Nova, black Nova. I think it's Ron Ippolito's car, isn't it?
Yeah, there it is. Ron Ippolito's car.
Yeah.
Ron's a member of the committee, Vietnam veteran. We're very proud to have that on the shirt this year. And the committee unanimously decided to go ahead and make it the blue and yellow colors for Ukraine.
That's right. I was going to ask you that. You didn't follow the traditional Beaver County, Western PA method of black and gold?
Right. We thought it was appropriate this year that we show the Ukraine colors.
I think for this community, especially. Now, I can't tell. I'm assuming on that their car, those are Kragers, right? Because if there's anything other than Krager rims on this car, it's not correct. Steve?
Nothing but.
Okay.
Nothing but. Traditional.
And Jensen triaxles and wooden boxes in the back windshield, right?
Oh, yeah. And the right pipes on it, too. You gotta have the right pipes on it.
What was it? Glass packs.
Glass packs.
Glass packs. And you could hear them coming into the parking lot at my high school, and you could see the shop teacher out there making mental notes of who was the most disruptive. And you still get a kick out of the cars like you used to? I know you're both car guys from way back, but does that ever fade?
I have a set of pipes on my car. They're called SLPs, which stands for Street Legal Performance. And you tell them what state you're from when you order them, and they ship them to you about 50 decibels below the illegal limit for your particular state.
So they tune your pipes to barely not break the law.
To the state you're from, yeah.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, I still like those pipes.
And for me, I still, I have a sentimental attachment to our car. But
well, wait, your car's a Caddy, right?
Yeah, the Caddy. It was my dad's car. My wife and I own it now and stuff. But I just I get a lot of enjoyment out of looking at all the different cars, and there's an infinite number of cars and variations between, custom and stock. And it's just, and every year here, we see new cars that we've never seen before here. Right now, we're firmly aware of people coming from 6 different states and Canada to the cruise here in Beaver Falls.
That's part of what makes it all worth it. Usually at some point in the day you get a little slowdown. We rent golf carts for the team members and the police. Everybody has to go from one end of town to the other, and you can maybe get away for an hour and just cruise up and down the street and check out all the cars. And there'll be some beauties here that day, that's for sure.
Now, just on a personal note, do you want something that's as stock as it can be, or do you enjoy when somebody goes absolutely goofy and makes it theirs, like makes it a singular vehicle to the point where that's really that Nova? If that Nova doesn't have those Kragers on it, that looks goofy to me. But I saw some cars last year that if you described them to me, I said, that's ridiculous. They were gorgeous and glorious, and there was no other car like them with the customizing that they do. There's a whole lot of chrome work that shows up in there.
Yeah, and one of the newer things is what they call Restomods. You take a class.
I hate when they take words and cut them into other words. What does that mean?
It's a restored modification of a classic car. A Restomod.
Okay.
And you'll take a 57 Chevy.
All right.
Nice classic car.
Bel Air, turquoise and white.
You got it, okay?
All right.
But you'll put a newer engine, an LS1, an LS3 engine in the thing. You put newer suspension on it, air ride suspension, newer steering, newer brakes, so that the thing rides and drives with the technology of a new vehicle, but you still have a classic car appearance-wise. If you ever watch any of the TV shows, the Meekum or Barrett Jackson, okay, the Restomods have come on strong. Although I saw a 69 Charger, Daytona Charger last week. Now think about this. Take your best guess, Eddie. A 69 Daytona Charger at Meekum.
Okay. Well, if it's at Meekum, it's not worth taking it to Meekum unless you're going to get 6 figures for it for some people. So I'd guess close to 100,000.
$1.2 million for a Dodge Charger.
For a Dodge.
For a Dodge. $1.2 million. Those Dodge brothers would be angry right now. They didn't get a piece of that action, wouldn't they?
Well, was it all mint and matching numbers, or was
Perfect.
it okay?
It was Hemi. It was brand spanking new. It was low mileage. It was the nicest one on the planet.
Well, let me ask you this, and this came up earlier. I was talking about guitars because Jim Irsay, the owner of the Colts, collects guitars for fun. He just paid $4.5 million for a guitar.
Oh, my goodness.
That's beat absolutely to death, but it's historic. In the car market, is a Restomod worth as much, or are you getting away from the original version of what the car company put out? Would a Restomod ever go for $1 million?
No.
Okay.
A Restomod will bring more than an average classic car because people like the modernization. But that pristine car, that one-of-a-kind car, nothing brings money like that. Yeah.
Right.
Is the market going up in classic cars like it is buying homes, or is it going the other way?
No.
No?
Stronger than ever. I don't know what's driving it. Maybe it's because they're taking their money out of the stock market, or
They got it out of crypto in time to have it.
A classic car is a lot more fun than the stock market and more profitable right now also.
In terms of a classic car, how old does the car have to be to get a license plate, a historic plate? And the reason I asked is I saw a truck go by the other day that had a historic plate on it. It had to be within 3 or 4 years of my truck.
Yeah.
When can I get a historic plate? Mine's an 07.
I think it's 20 years now, isn't it, Tom? You can get a classic.
In Pennsylvania, 15 years, I think you get the classic.
25
years, you get antique. Now, in Ohio, they don't do those two. They just do historic, and that's 20 years.
And that's 20.
So,
all right.
What's the benefit of that, besides looking cool with the different plate?
Well, the one thing for the classic plates in Pennsylvania, you only have to pay for your registration once. It's why my dad did it back in 1982, so that he didn't have to pay for a new registration card every year. So there's that benefit. And then I think if it has antique plates, it doesn't necessarily need an inspection.
Well, that was my next question. Do they still smack you for $80 or $100 to inspect it?
If you have a classic plate in Pennsylvania, yes. If you have an antique plate, I don't believe you have to have an inspection.
Are you aware of any shop in Beaver County that can give you an inspection without having a UPC or without having a place to plug in a tablet? Are there mechanics? It's a goofy question, but are there mechanics that are mechanics still around? Who's working on these cars? Because you can't plug a tablet in and run a diagnostic on a 57 Bel Air.
They are still around. I actually know two personally who are in our age bracket, basically, and they run old-time mechanics places. Now, they have to, if you need to do the emission inspection, they have to put the thing into your tailpipe and plug that in a computer. But otherwise, these guys, they can work on anything. I mean, once in a while, they may have to Google something on where to get this part. But, yeah, there are still a few left.
I was told once the minute that the car had too much crap under the hood to throw a handful of change in and it get to the ground, that's when cars went bad.
I've never heard that saying. I personally agree with that. I mean, there's a lot of beautiful brand new cars, and with all the computer systems, it's amazing what they can do. I don't know if you've ever driven an older vehicle, Eddie, that doesn't have power steering or power brakes.
I have.
And it is work. It is work. So I understand, like a lot of people, Steve was talking about the Restomods updating some of those systems. It makes those vehicles a lot easier to drive.
Well, yeah, it was late 60s Buick Skylark convertible, and it was glorious. And the first time I got to drive it, I'm like, what's going on? You can't steer it, and you got to stomp on the brakes. And that occurred to me, that's how much better the mechanics are with cars today. So as far as driving, if I got an old car and I want to drive it, the Restomod would be the way to go, wouldn't it?
Well, it's certainly easier. You know, if you don't have power steering, if you're sitting stopped, you can't turn the wheel. You can't turn the wheel in advance until you get the car moving, because it's just
there ain't enough torques in your arms.
That's right. That's right.
Steve, earlier you mentioned something about the opening ceremonies. What was that? Was there a good issue? Because I remember I wasn't here yet. I was listening to the opening ceremonies. They sounded great. What happened with the opening ceremonies that's going to be better this year?
Well, it was a real nice opening ceremony last year. Probably one of the best ones we had. We're going to tone it down this year a little bit just because of time restraints and everything. These guys like to get cruising and everything. But there is a couple of things going to happen at this year's opening ceremony I'd like to mention. Number one, we are going to be honoring the military again, first responders and all that. We're going to present a little check to the police department. The police department is doing a fundraiser right now for a new canine dog. And
not cheap.
Yeah, not cheap at all, and all the other stuff that goes with taking care of the dog. And I have experience with canine dogs. I'm the guy that when the alarm goes off in the dealership at 3 o'clock in the morning, I'm the guy that they call, and we go down and we open the door and we walk into this dark dealership with guns drawn, and just in case there's a problem in there. Canine dog changes the whole picture. The whole picture. You open the door a little bit, you let the dog in. If there's a bad guy in there, next thing you know, he's up on one of the racks saying, "Hurry, arrest me, get me away from this dog." So
I don't know if you know this. Have you ever heard the George Foreman story?
No, sure.
He said this. He was a thug and he was a bully, and he was running. The police were chasing him. He was under a porch, covering himself in mud because he was so scared of the dogs. That's why he went and signed up and joined Job Corps, and that's where he started boxing.
Is that right?
Because of those dogs, and you're exactly right.
Yeah.
And they're thousands and thousands of dollars. It was a canine dog. The story yesterday about the drug bust in Ambridge.
Yeah.
Okay.
They're a wonderful addition to a police department. And we wanted to talk about it just to make sure the public's aware that they do have a fundraiser going on for a new canine dog, and any donations are greatly appreciated.
Now, this is the Beaver Falls Police Department,
Beaver Falls Police Department, that's correct. Yep, just make your check right to them. So our new mayor has volunteered to say a few words. Kenya Johns is going to say a few things about the city. And we have a grand marshal this year who is a son of Beaver Falls, born and raised, who we're going to honor him. His name is Linwood Alford. Linwood and Joe Namath, actually childhood friends, grew up together in his heyday. Linwood used to go to New York City when Joe was playing for the Jets. And
back when Joe owned his own nightclub.
And spend a little time together. And Joe still gives Linwood heck for not coming to visit him enough. It's just a lifetime relationship and a great, great son of Beaver Falls. So we're really happy to have him as our grand marshal this year.
And he spent a lifetime doing charitable works for Beaver Falls and Beaver County. We're very, very proud to have him as our grand marshal this year.
How do you feel about how Beaver County came through and Beaver Falls came through the last 2 years? I'm proud of it.
So are we. You know, unfortunately, in 2020, we started doing Zoom calls in January, February, trying to plan for it. We were talking to the city, the county, the state, saying, hey, look, and it was hard back then, if you remember right, to predict that. Can you do this event with 10, 12,000 people, even outside?
Tom, from 1 week to the next, the governor was giving different sets of rules, literally from 1 week to the next. It was impossible.
Right. And so I know there was a lot that went on. Actually, in 2020, since we didn't have a cruise, we made donations to 7 different organizations. Our committee is very community-minded in addition to the cruise. But I think, listen, from my viewpoint, and I'm an avid listener, actually, of Beaver County Radio, because I feel it gives me a flavor of what local people think. I think the people, the governments, all did a good job in getting our county through that. I think it went pretty well, considering what they were facing.
Considering the rules changed literally on a daily basis, and nobody knew nothing and still didn't know nothing.
Absolutely.
Well, what should I have gotten you guys to talk about that I didn't? I'm going to hold the T-shirt up again because, number one of my best friends on the planet growing up had a black Nova.
Oh, is that right?
I had that car.
Oh, cool.
And I know you can get some Joe Namath stories out of his buddy, but I imagine my buddy could seriously drop some stories down. Is there anything that I should have mentioned or get you guys that you wanted to mention as I try and...
Tom, you want to give a shout out to our sponsors? We got a great group.
We'd love to
local
just read out our sponsors if we could, Eddie. These are the people, in addition to the community, who make this event happen, right?
Well, without these people, no matter how much work your committee does, this doesn't happen.
That's exactly right.
It couldn't happen. There's too much work.
They're our biggest supporters, and Beaver County Radio is one of our biggest supporters year in and year out. O'Reilly Auto Parts, Patriot Home Care, Ron Lewis Ford Kia, State Farm, Eddie Isabella, the agent right across the street here for Beaver Falls, Wilds Auto Specialties, Beaver Falls Health Mart, Sully's Towing, the Antique Emporium, Tri-County McDonald's, Valvoline, Vintage Torque, AK Nahas, API, Aquatic Gardens, Athens Family Restaurant, Beaver County Fruit Company, Brian's Toning, Hauling, Chelsea Party Center, the City of Beaver Falls, of course, D&G Rentals, Frank's Construction, Gordon's Auto Service, Huff's Auto Body, Hutchin Home, Jay's News, John Brown's Armory, Kitchen City, Little Joe's, McMahon, Harley-Davidson, Muscle Car Pit Stop right across the street, Orham's Donut Shop. Anytime I come down to CU80, I got to stop at Orham's.
Yeah, I can't help but notice when you come in and crumbs all over your face, but not a box for anyone else. Yeah.
Pennsylvania Hot Rod Company, PPG, Pro Action, Renico Sports Bar, Victoria's Embroidering, Bocelli Pizza, and West Banco Bank. If you think about what I just read, every one of those companies, and a lot of them are 7th Avenue businesses.
Yes, they are.
They all support us, and almost every one is a supporter every year.
Yeah.
So we're very, very thankful for everybody's support.
Yeah. Vendors also. We're going to have some good food vendors in town.
Thank you, Steve.
Yeah, lots of good chow that day. Not to mention all our local restaurants. They pick up the pace on that day. That Athens restaurant in particular, they have people lined up out on the sidewalk. They have every family member's working that day. They've got a regular assembly line going on gyros that day. And I talked to John after the owner, John Apostolos, after the event last year, and I said, "Hey, how'd it go today, John?" Yeah. All I can tell you is he had a big smile on his face.
And I'd say when he won't even tell you, they just look at the ground.
That answered my question right there.
Yeah, if you've ever seen it down there right at Athens, when they've gotten, they do,
they got the little mini parking lot.
Right. Yeah. Out in their parking lot, they got 3 or 4 spits with those big hunks of lamb on there.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's real gyro meat. So we've got a whole array of vendors. Could I read through those? Eddie,
I would way rather talk about this than just about anything else. And Tom, you're taller and bigger than me. You read whatever you want.
All right.
All right.
I do want to say that since the time Steve and I and the whole committee got involved, again, we're very community oriented. So we give up almost half of the vendor spaces to nonprofit organizations. Some of them want to just pass out literature, give out water and stuff. And we're very, very proud of that. So we usually have 15 or 17 nonprofits who, and they get their vendor space for free, of course, so that we can help support them. But some of the paying vendors, or I shouldn't say paying, participating food vendors, because if they're a local business on 7th Avenue, we certainly don't charge them a vendor fee. So Renico Sports Bar and Grill, and they've got an array: gyros, meatball hoagies, hot sausage. Athens, we just talked about gyros, hot sausage.
Renico's fish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Took's Concessions, they do Philly cheesesteaks, dogs, French fries, lemonade. Texas Roadhouse, Nero's down the street here. Look good and smell good. They do natural drinks. Some Like It Hot on Wheels. They do Cuban sandwiches, spicy chili fries. Amber's Italian Villa, which I would assume you're very familiar with.
I am familiar with their work, yes.
There you go. Cool Treats. This is one of the vendors been here for several decades. They sell ice cream and sweets and stuff like that. D's Fair Food, they do corn dogs, funnel cakes. Apple dumplings. Chubby's Pizza Wagon, they do personal pan pizzas, meatball sandwiches. The Mean Bean Coffee Shop, Rescue Dogs, a personal favorite of mine, Rescue Dogs. All their profits goes to the Light of Life mission in Pittsburgh, and they sell gourmet hot dogs. And I had one 2 days ago, and I will promise you, one of the best hot dogs you've ever eaten in your life. They're that good. And they're not just hot dogs with ketchup, even though if that's what you like, you can get. You can get a hot dog like a French hot dog, and it has blue cheese on it, or a German one with sauerkraut and mustard, and they're really, really pretty special. There's a company called Just Three Bros Lemonade, selling lemonade and water. We try to support the Beaver Falls Little Tigers. They'll be giving out bracelets and drinks. The Beaver Falls Varsity Cheer will be selling hot dogs, and then Little Joe's down at the end will be selling sausage sandwiches and a lot of other stuff. It's one of the things we feel really enhances everybody's experience, whether you come in with a classic or antique car or whether you're just visiting. The food is a large part of it, and we try to have a nice variety for everybody.
The food is a large part of it because it's a one-stop shop. We're going to go to this event. Well, what are we going to eat? You just gave them an entire list of options. And think of all of the organizations that you just talked about that are going to raise funds because of this event.
Absolutely.
Those funds wouldn't be raised. The date is June 11th.
Right.
Yep, 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. Beaver Falls Car Cruise 31st Annual. I hope we're about ready to wrap up here. For some reason, my stomach just started growling. I'm not sure what caused that.
Yeah.
Well, maybe Gargaro reading down. Ooh, this is
might have had an effect, particularly describing that hot dog.
Have you ever had a hot dog? What about a donut? Yeah.
Before we sign off, just a big shout out. The cruisers, These guys, they love their cars, the iconic America, and the car cruise fans. We're so thankful for all of them for showing up on our cruise day.
And if I could just add, my wife and I did a little research over this past year. As far as number of cars, number of attendees, we believe that east of the Mississippi, this is the second or third largest car cruise east of the Mississippi. That's what we've been able to find out. It's that big. It's that big.
And it's going to be bigger this year.
We hope to get better and bigger every year.
Yep.
Tom Gargaro and Steve Peterson with the Beaver Falls Car Cruise have been my guests, and it's been wonderful as always. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you very
Eddie.
much, Eddie.
The following announcement has been authorized by the St. Barnabas Voting Action Committee and is not authorized by any candidate. The future depends on you making the right decisions in this year's Best of the Valley election. Please visit timesonline.com/contests and vote for these endorsed candidates.
For best